I mean, look at her. She's dark green. She's 7 foot. She's never been bred before. I mean, she didn't storm the Capitol building this week. She's a good girl. You know, guys, we always talk about the 3 types of cycling. There's food cycling, light cycling, and heat cycling. But breeders never talk about the 4th type of cycling. That's vocal cycling, when you basically beg your snakes to breed when they're not showing any interest in breeding. So, and you look at him. He's bright green. He's young, and he's so muscular. And he comes from a good family. I mean, even his grandparents hated Carpondros. Hey, Happy New Year, everybody. I missed you guys. I took a little bit of break between videos. We try to put them out one every 2 weeks, but just a lot going on. No excuses, sorry, but just a lot going on, including working on Snake Room 2.0, which I'm going to show you guys shortly. I'm really excited about that. Today's video, I think it's really long overdue. I really want to get into all these imported babies that are coming into the country right now. I want to talk about the good and the bad about these imported babies. I want to tell you a little bit about their background, and I want to give you guys enough information so you can make the right decision on whether or not they're going to be right for you. We're also going to do a breeder spotlight today. We're going to talk about the albino green tree python project with my friend Marcial Mendez. We're going to feature him in the breeder spotlight. He's got some really cool things happening right now to advance the albino green tree python project, and I really hope that works out for him. I also wanted to mention, I just shot a video with T-Baru. I always say your name wrong, T-Baru. I'm so sorry. T-Baru is over, he calls himself the Green Tree Python guy. He's on YouTube. He's over in the UK. And I just shot a video with him. He released it this week. And I'm going to put a link to his video on the bottom of my video. I had such a great time doing it with him. I got to talk about the guys who influenced me with Green Tree Pythons and some of the hardships and losses I dealt with over the last few years with my animals. And I think you guys would really enjoy it. You know, I also wanted to mention to you guys that I just read a very, very well-respected in a reptile journal. And they were mentioning that, you know, this is strange to me, but people who like and subscribe to my videos on average produce far more babies every year than people who do not like and subscribe. So, I don't know, crazy, but if I were you, I wouldn't take the chance. And you know what? One last thing before we get into today's video. Actually, you know what? Come on, guys, take a walk with me. I want to show you the start of Snake Room 2.0. So, I'm pretty fortunate because there's 4 rooms in my basement. And this is all going to be like a discus tank is going to go over there, and there's going to be, you'll see it. I'm going to show you guys as things advance down here. But the bottom line is, in this room over here, this room is 9 foot by 20 foot. And this is all going to be primarily my green Sanzinia and diamond python room. I also ordered some ARS wraps, hatchling wraps for babies. I ordered some cages from Jeff Ronnie at Boafile, so I'm hopefully going to have those in soon. And I'm hoping to have animals in this room within the next 3 to 4 weeks. And Jeff Ronnie, if you're watching, you know, as I mentioned to you, take your time with my cages, but please hurry up. So anyway, I'm going to keep you guys posted on this room as it gets done. And this is Snake Room 2.0. And the really cool thing about it is I'm also going to have a second sink down here in this room because, as we know with all reptile rooms, there's 2 things you can never have enough of: snakes and sinks. Yeah, I'm going to have a second slop sink put in this room. So anyway, why don't we jump in today's video, and I'm going to be right back. Hey, this is a 2019 female diamond python. If you guys watch my channel regularly, you'll see I got her a few months back. I put a lot of size on her since, and God, she's amazing. I cannot wait to be able to breed her in a few years. But hey, with this breeder spotlight, we're going to talk about the albino green tree python project, specifically my friend Marcial Mendez. I give Marcial such credit. He's been working on this project for coming up on probably in the area of 20 years. And what's really cool about it is that Marcial currently has eggs on the ground. I think he has about 14 eggs right now from his male Versace, which is a proven het albino chondro, and a female that is actually Versace's granddaughter. So yes, there is line breeding going on here. She's a 2013 female, and she's a 66% possible het. So there's no guarantee he's going to produce any albinos in this clutch, but like I said, he's been working at this for a long time. And let's talk about the albino project here. Are there any albinos out there right now? Well, Marcial has produced albinos in the past. I want to say he's produced 3 or 4, but for various reasons, they've been problematic. He's not been able to keep them alive. I'm going to put one of the pictures up of one of his albinos that he produced. It made it to about 2 years old, and I think it had some complications, and he wound up losing the animal. Prior to that, he had some babies that I don't think lasted much longer than a few months. From what I'm being told right now, I'm hearing over in Germany, there's possibly a pair of albino chondros. I don't know more about them than I just shared with you guys. If there's anybody out there who knows anything about these albino chondros in Germany, God, I would love to know about them. Please comment on this video. If you have any pictures, you can send them to me at gary@gsreptiles.com. I'd love to talk about them. What do we know about albino chondros? Well, we know Trooper Walsh had them in the past, and that's where Marcial's derived from. His Versace male, which, by the way, I think this is like his 17th clutch. He's going to sire Versace. Came from Trooper Walsh, and Trooper Walsh, I don't know what happened to that Midas animal that the original albino trooper had. I think he may have lost that animal. Damon Salces is another name, and of you old-time chondro guys out there, you probably know Damon's name. He had some albinos he'd produced, some really nice stuff. But I don't know what happened to those animals. But the bottom line is, I think as far as in the United States right now, unless somebody's hiding any of them, I don't think there's any albinos in the United States right now. And I'm hearing there are 2 in Germany. If somebody can confirm that, that would be great. In the interim, I'm just going to wish my friend Marcial Mendez just the best of luck with them. I think it's a really exciting project. I'll keep you guys posted. And Marcial, we're all in this with you, and we admire your determination, because as we know at chondros, guys, it is absolutely a marathon and it's not a sprint. So this is a 2004 Arfak female, and she was captive hatched over in Indonesia. She's never been treated for parasites. She's been problem-free. She's had 3 or 4 clutches for me, and she's been a dream animal. So what she was is what you're seeing a lot of those babies come in as. And by the way, I'm wearing a glove. Not that I'm afraid to get bit. It's just that, you know, I'm afraid to get bit because we're shooting this at night right now. And at night, she's a little different than she is during the day. So anyway, she's a captive hatched green tree python that came in as an imported baby from Indonesia. So let's talk about what is a captive hatched baby, and should you buy a captive hatched baby. So let's get into that right now. So we're going to talk about captive hatched and captive born baby chondros. I'm going to define what they are in a second. The first thing we have to address is Bushmaster Reptiles. You're going to hear that name. If you're into chondros, you're always going to hear the name thrown around, Bushmaster Reptiles and Cameron Templeton. So who are they? Who is Bushmaster Reptiles? Well, they are based over in Boulder, Colorado, here in the United States. Cameron Templeton owns and runs Bushmaster Reptiles. He has a wealth of information. He has been major contributions to the hobby of herpetoculture for several decades. Cameron's been around. He's actually done field work with Jane Goodall. He's actually brought many first-time species here in the United States, Savu pythons being one of them. So Cameron is super knowledgeable. He's very much into these animals, and I've just enjoyed speaking with him over the years. So Bushmaster Reptiles is, I don't know if they own it, but they're closely affiliated with a farm over in Papua New Guinea, okay? I'm going to put some pictures up of that farm. All the babies that are, they actually field collect wild-caught adults over at the farm. They breed them in captivity, so technically they're captive-bred babies over in Indonesia. After those babies hatch, they are established over in Indonesia and they are shipped over to the United States. And they're brought into Bushmaster Reptiles in Colorado, and then Cameron then distributes those animals throughout the United States. Okay, so to be clear, now that we've established who Bushmaster Reptiles is, don't assume every baby that you see available here in the United States as an imported baby chondro comes from Bushmaster Reptiles. I would say a high percentage of them do, but not all of them, okay? Now let's revisit what we talked about earlier in the video, captive hatch. What does captive hatch mean? Well, captive hatch and captive born technically can mean the same thing. They're animals captive born, captive hatched over in Indonesia from adults that are maintained in captivity and then shipped over here to the United States. Technically, we could actually almost call them captive bred and born, but the reason we do not do that is because it would add confusion. Here in the United States, when we refer to a captive bred and born chondro, what we're referring to is an animal that's born within the collection of the United States. So again, captive bred and born chondros here in the U.S. mean that they're born from a private breeder within the states. And when we hear captive hatch or captive born babies, we can assume that means it's a baby born over in Indonesia and then imported here to the United States. I know I threw a lot of information at you guys. Captive hatch, captive born versus captive bred. I know it's confusing. If you have any questions, put them in the bottom of this video in the comments, and I promise you I will answer your questions to hopefully clear up any confusion you have. So what do we really want to know? Is it safe for you to buy these animals? What's the downside? Well, it is safe for you to buy these animals as long as you're getting them from a reputable seller, okay? Even if it's a broker, somebody who buys and sells animals, they're reputable, and it'd be really helpful if you could see the animal in person, you could establish it's eating really well, then I would go ahead and buy those animals. What are the 2% potential negatives of buying these babies? Well, the first is you can't see pictures of the parents because the parents are over in Indonesia and they just don't provide pictures of the parents. And the second thing is that sometimes these animals can have parasites when they come in. do not treat a baby, do not get a baby tested for parasites, because you can't treat a baby for parasites, they're too small. So if I were you and you bought one of these babies, wait till it's about a year old, then get a fecal done on it. And if it has parasites, it could be easily treated when it's a larger animal. Again, if it's a baby, you're going to do more harm than good. And why do these babies have parasites? Because sometimes over in Indonesia, when they can't get them started on pinky mice, what they'll do is they'll establish them on frogs or lizards, and then they'll transfer them over to pinky mice before they're imported here into the United States. And unfortunately, though, they already get the parasites from the frog or the lizard. So that's why at some point, it wouldn't be a bad thing to get a fecal done on any of these babies. But they do typically really well. And again, if you can get it from a reputable breeder or a reputable seller, I would go ahead and buy one of these babies. And speaking of reputable sellers, Ryan Burke, Clockwork Reptiles. If you want one of these babies, if you're willing to get a baby not from captive bred from a breeder, and you're willing to take on one of these captive hatched imported little babies, Ryan Burke, Clockwork Reptiles is honestly the only guy I could strongly recommend to all of you out there. Ryan lives within close proximity of Bushmaster Reptiles. He goes over there on a regular basis. He gets these babies from Cameron. He makes sure they're well established. He holds on to them for a while, and then he sells them. And he provides a lot of support. And again, you know, as from watching my channel, I don't push people or I don't endorse people that I don't believe in or I wouldn't buy from myself. I would absolutely buy from Ryan. He does a great job. So Clockwork Reptiles, I'll put a link on the bottom of this video. And Ryan is a long-time green tree python guy. He can answer any questions you have. He always has a nice selection of captive hatched babies in from Indonesia, and Ryan could definitely help you out. God, I love how this one's turning out. It's a 2019 pure Manokwari baby going through its color change. That was a red baby, so I'm really excited. We'll see how this one turns out. But anyway, hey guys, that wraps up another video, and I'm excited to show you guys the progress on Snake Room 2.0 over the next few coming videos. And as always, US Ark guys, they do so much for us and ask so little from us. It's only $5 a month for a membership. And as always, they need us now more than ever, so please look into US Ark. And I really look forward to seeing you guys again in a couple weeks. Who has the best YouTube channel? Me